Oh, great. And thank you, Meir, for putting this together. We're so grateful and really honored always to work with Libanot, one of the great organizations of Tzfat, really of Israel. So this is for us a great privilege. And this group, we're really so happy to be with you. This is a group that spans a lot of the planet Earth. So this is especially precious at this time to be able to connect together this way. As we mentioned last time, we're now going to be, for the next few weeks, working on a certain major theme in meditation practice, the engagement of the heart. Those of you who are also doing the advanced series, we're looking at that issue as well during this, this coming month from a different perspective. So the exercises are not the same for the advanced and for this Live Note class, but the theme is the common theme, and so it's one of the most important themes in meditation practice, which is engaging our hearts, not just our foreground attention, but registering the meaning of our experience, using what we call heart consciousness, which includes our emotional consciousness. Emotions are not just reactions to the events, in our day or our lives. Emotion is, through our emotions, we process the meaning of what we're experiencing. And though emotions in a certain sense are more general than our specific cognitive intellectual awareness, they provide the context of our understanding of our experience. So we have many layers, many levels of what we might call knowledge. And yes, there's knowing information, knowing about facts, but that's really a sort of superficial level of knowing. It's important. It helps us to orient in the world. But there are deeper levels of knowing, which include engaging our emotional sense of the meaning of our experience, and particularly when it comes to spiritual experience, heart consciousness is absolutely central and vital. And this is what we want to work on in a series of meditation exercises over the next few sessions. So let me put up the text for tonight. Let me get this up properly. Hang on a second. Hope everyone can see this this clearly on the screen. Just a few texts to orient us to this theme of heart consciousness. The overall title for our session today is Ein Od Milvado. It's a verse from, I'm translating this as there is naught else but him. It's a tricky translation, as you'll see. It's a verse from the Et Hanan in Devarim, in Deuteronomy. Ata hareta lada'at ki Hashem hu ha'Elohim ein od milvado. Moshe says to Am Yisrael, you have been shown to know, interesting phrase itself, you have been shown experientially at Mount Sinai to know that Hashem is God, there is naught else but him. Ein od milvado. In typical English translations of the Torah, it's usually translated, there is none else but him. Where none means no other gods, no other deities but God. And so this is taken as a statement of monotheism, that we, as Jews, we acknowledge one God. There is none else but him. But as we'll see in the Kabbalistic tradition and in the Hasidic tradition, this verse is taken what we might call hyper literally, intensely literally, and because Ein Od Milvado doesn't just mean there is no other God but him. There's none other but him. And that's why I translated it not. You could almost translate it, there is nothing else but him. Okay, Ein Od Milvado. But that's also, that would be kind of flattening the meaning of the statement. That would make it sound as if there is nothing at all but God, and we are just an illusion, which, I mean, there are some religions that hold that, but that's not our position in Jewish tradition. We are created beings. We are really here, and that's a mystery and something extraordinary if you get that. Okay, but there is none else but God, naught else but God, nothing else but God. Meaning that God is the most real of what is real. There's nothing else in reality really but him, and God penetrates everything, surrounds everything, includes everything in some way. And this is the mystery that we want to get at. Because if we get this, as we'll see from the text, this begins to open our hearts. Not just an abstract idea about God, the ruler of the universe, but something very, very personal. And that's our goal for this session. So you've been shown to know that there is naught else but him. Some of us have looked at a verse that gets across the way to perceiving this, that there is naught else but God. And this is a verse from Psalm 100. This is if you pray the daily liturgy, this is in the weekday liturgy. David HaMelech says, "Du'u ki Hashem hu Elohim, hu asanu v'lo anachnu, amo v'tzon marito." Know that Hashem is God, the Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey name of God is God. He made us, and what the verse literally says, as it's written in Psalms, he made us and we did not. We are his people and the sheep that he shepherds. We are his nation and the sheep that he shepherds. This verse has it's called a Ktiv Ukri. It's written in a certain way in the Tanakh, in the Bible, and it's pronounced, a Ktiv Ukri usually is written in a certain way, pronounced a different way. In this case, the pronunciation is the same in both versions, but there's two different meanings to this verse. Know that Hashem is God, he made us, and we did not. That's the way it's written. And the way that it's sometimes understood is know that Hashem is God, he made us, and we are his. Lo, in this case, Lamed Vav, his. Lamed Aleph is not. So, in truth, these two meanings work together. We should know that God made us and we did not. This might sound obvious, but we want to, in this session, we want to understand this in every detail of our being. God made us. We did not. We find ourselves here and we have no idea how we got here. We say, we can talk about it scientifically, we can talk about it theologically, but we just find ourselves here and we did not do this. And that's amazing in itself, to find ourselves here. So it's not an obvious statement. To really realize this is really quite transformative of your self-awareness. God made us and we did not, but because God made us, lo anachnu lamed vav, we are his. And we're responsible to God. Okay? And we're going to explore the implications of this in two important texts, one from the Hasidic tradition and one from the Kabbalistic tradition. In the Hasidic tradition, Rav Kalonymus Kalmash Epstein, he's the author of the Meir V'Shemesh, a very intellectually rigorous line of Hasidut. And it's an extraordinary sefer. It's a great, great book to read. And herein, he's talking in Parshat Shemot. He introduces an important contemplative approach to relating to God, kind of a meditation. He says like this: the essence of all service, divine service, service to God, service to humanity, is to understand and intuit, and that is really deeply understand, that God rules and cares for in detail and directs all the worlds. So God cares in detail for all the worlds. And he wants to get into the detail of this and directs all the worlds. And in Kabbalah acknowledges myriad worlds, many, many, many worlds. And there is no place empty of him. Okay. This is a important principle in the Zohar, particularly the Tikkun Zohar. There is no place empty of God. Now, that's not to say that God is something physical. It's trying to get across that God pervades all of reality, suffuses all of reality in some way that we want to get a sense of this, even though we'll never quite understand it. There is no place empty of God. Nonetheless, this requires to be aware of this, of the complete presence of God in every dimension of reality. To be aware of this requires great efforts to grasp this in the truth of truth. And by this, the truth of truth means not just to grasp this abstractly or intellectually as an idea, but to experience this principle that God pervades everything. This requires great efforts to grasp this in the truth of truth, says Rav Epstein. And one needs to meditate, which we're going to try to do shortly, and analyze all one's activities well, and to be mindful of oneself in each and every movement. So Rav Epstein lays out a suggestion that we make of this a meditation, to meditate on each and every movement. In other words, every aspect of our being, every movement, every limb of our bodies, the way in which, our arms move, our hands move, our bodies move, our legs move, the way we're speaking, every physical movement of ours, to analyze where does this come from? We didn't make ourselves. We didn't give ourselves the ability to move. We find all of this already happening. We find ourselves in this world already happening, thrown, so to speak, and here we are. With all of these abilities in detail, as he says, every aspect of our body we didn't make, God did. Every way in which our body operates, the muscles and the ligaments and the nervous system and the circulatory system, every the digestive system, every one of the systems of our extraordinary bodies. If we really appreciate what's going on here, we didn't do any of this. We are walking miracles. And if we really appreciate this in the most intimate and direct way, we see how God is sustaining us at every moment, giving us this ability in every limb, every aspect of our being to be what we are. So he says we need to meditate and analyze all one's activities well. So we'll do a little mindfulness of every aspect of our being in our meditation. Be mindful of oneself in each and every movement. And this is not just an intellectual exercise. It's not just an exercise in attention or what's called mindfulness meditation in popular practice today. This is also an awareness that should open up our hearts. Why? And one's heart should be burning like a flaming fire with enthusiasm and yearning for the Creator, blessed be He. So this awareness that every aspect of our being, every ability to move and think and talk and all of this comes from God and comes from God now should open up our hearts to burn like a flaming fire with enthusiasm and yearning for the Creator, blessed be He. Then one can come to this, to know of His divinity, blessed be He, in truth of truth, by which He means to experience this truth, not just as an imagination, not just as a belief. Kabbalah and Chassidut are not really into what's called in English belief. Belief is, as one of the great Kabbalists of the 13th century, Yaakov ben Sheshet, says, belief is to pretend you know something when you don't really know it, which is not much of anything. Okay? Kabbalah and Chassidut are not about belief, they're about direct experience. We don't believe that there is God, we try to experience what a human being can experience of God. That's what Chassidut, that's what Kabbalah is about. So we can come to know of God's divinity and every detail of our being as infusing, supporting, making possible, facilitating every detail of our being. Know this in truth of truth, in real experience. This is the essence of all, he says, like the saying of King David, blessed be upon him, brought in Divrei Hayamim in Chronicles, know the God of your father. Really, really know God. Okay, so this will set us in a certain direction in our meditation, which will start shortly. A meditation on every aspect of our being, as he says, in detail, of our bodies and our ability to move, even just on the physical level, and certainly on the our ability to speak and our ability to think, our consciousness, to have a sense that God facilitates every aspect of this. And when we get this in truth of truth, as he says, in real experience, to really get this, it opens our hearts. When we realize how close, how intimate God is with us. God is not out there. God is closer than we are to ourselves, completely intimate. We say in our tefillah, in the Siddur, in traditional prayer, every bracha that we say, which is the unit of prayer, the blessing, every bracha is Baruch Atah Hashem. Bless you, God. Bless you, God. We address God as you in the most intimate way. And not you way out there, but you. I mean, closer than close. If we really get this, this is even beyond gratefulness, the level in which this opens our hearts to have a sense of that God is making us possible at every moment. This is an extraordinary awareness. This is what he's talking about here. Very deep, intimate awareness. Our heart should burn like a flaming fire with enthusiasm and yearning for God. Now, the notion that God facilitates, makes possible, creates certainly, but also facilitates the movement of and makes possible every aspect of our being. This, he's referencing an earlier source here, though it's obvious to anybody that just thinks about reality at all, but earlier source is the Tikkunei Zohar, which I brought here. The Tikkunei Zohar is a late stratum of the Zohar. It's an extraordinary work. It is this kind of free, associative, poetic jazz of Kabbalah. It's just one of the most delightful mystical works ever, and it's well worth learning to read, I have to say, and learning to study. Here's the passage from the Tikkunei Zohar, which is one of the sources for what Rav Columbus Kalmash Epstein is talking about. And the Zohar says, in a context of talking about the angelic realms, as there is no angel in which the name of God is not found, for he is found in every place, in the same way that the soul is found in each and every limb. So this is a theme in the Zohar in general, that God's relation to reality is similar to what we would call the soul, which our working definition of soul is the full structure of consciousness. The way in which our consciousness inhabits our bodies, is a kind of model for the way in which God inhabits all of reality. So he goes on to say, the same way that the soul is found in each every limb, God is found in every aspect of reality. Because of this, a person should recognize Hashem's rule, that Hashem is facilitating the activity of all sfirot, the revealed qualities of God, the infinite, all thrones, heavenly thrones, all angels, in each and every limb of a person. That's what Rav Epstein was talking about. In each and every limb, God is facilitating us at every level in detail. For there is no place empty of him. That's what he's quoting. He's quoting this passage above. There's no place empty of him. Not among the higher beings, not among the lower beings. And Hashem is not called by the unity of the four letters except through the cause of causes who unifies them. And his point is here that the letters of the divine name are the structure of reality. And all of that is infused, that the structure of reality, the letters of the divine name, Yud, Hey, and Vav and Hey, the tetragrammaton. So the structure of reality is infused by God, the cause of causes, who unifies everything. He unifies the four letters, the structure of reality, is called Hashem through them, the name, in one unification. Hashem is one, and his name is one. On account of this, the trust of Israel is placed in these four letters. We call to God through this name. And all the names of God that we find in the Tanakh are epithets of this name. And there is no name unto the infinite and unto the limitless greater or more authoritativeness, up to the infinite and down to the limitless, and all legions and hosts fear and tremble before him. Okay, it's a wild passage in the Tikkunei Zohar. And the basic point of this is that God the infinite, Ein Sof, the cause of causes, God the infinite inhabits everything, infuses everything. And not just extraordinary spiritual beings like angels and thrones, but us, little old us, in every aspect of our being. We did not do this. We look at ourselves, we just find ourselves here. And if we really get this in the most intimate, quietly intimate way, I mean, this is Harata Da'at itself, it's enlightenment itself. It's full opening of the heart itself. It's full heart consciousness. So what I'd like to do together now is in this meditation. So we'll start as we have been starting and usually start in our meditation practices with 5 minutes of hashkata, of quieting our minds. And just review what this is. That we'll start with and here I'm going to unshare this now. Just talk. So we'll begin with 5 minutes we'll begin with this chime. And then 5 minutes of just quieting our minds. We want to become aware of everything that's around us and happening around us and within us, allowing the regular processes of our physical being to help calm us down. So paying light attention to breathing, the breathing process. So we can sense it, inhaling air at the nose, and as you inhale it, it's cool and it comes in and expands our lungs, and then it stops for a moment, and then our lungs contract and the air comes out and it's warm. So sense all of that, the ketzev, the pacing of the breathing process. As we quiet down, we can sense our heartbeat. We might sense it in our chest, or we might sense it in other pulses around our body. Wherever we're sitting, there's probably some ambient noise around us. Take that in. Our eyes will be closed, but maybe there's the little lights, on the back of your retina, your eyelids. If there's any taste in your mouth, any fragrances, to be aware of that. You're sitting on a chair, perhaps, or sitting in any way you're sitting, so feel the sensation of that in our sense of touch. So it's to be aware of, just to give attention to all of the sensations that we are feeling that are in us and around us. We'll have our eyes closed for this. It's, as we said, it's called hashkata, quieting. We want to quiet our attention, which tends to jump around, and particularly to quiet our thinking, our verbal thinking, which is a good thing in itself, but it takes a lot of mental energy and often distracts us from being more deeply and globally aware. So, if thinking happens, if verbal thinking happens, which it does, just back off of it. This is the advice of the Piazetzner Rebbe and Hashkata. Just back off of it. Don't follow the themes of the thought, but we can be aware that thinking it's happening. But just don't get engaged in the themes of the thought. Let it happen. Let it go. It will quiet down on its own. 5 minutes of hashkata, of quieting. Then you'll hear another chime after 5 minutes. And you'll also hear me say the verse in Hebrew and in English. Ata hareta lada'at ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim ein od milvado. You've been shown to know that Hashem is God. There is naught else but Him. And this is our signal now to engage our heart in this meditation. We've been dealing with our attention, attending stimuli and phenomena, but now it's time to engage our heart. Yes, we are aware that our breathing is happening, our hearts are beating, we sense stimuli from sound or from touch, and all these stimuli. We can sense our bodies. Now, be aware, Hashem made us, we didn't. Everything that we're sensing about ourselves and the world around us, we did not do. And everything that is in us and around us that we're sensing and we're aware of is facilitated by God. And not just sometime in the past, but every moment, at every moment. Okay? And that's not just an article of belief. Understand this scientifically. In terms of quantum physics, we know that we are packaged energy. We are, that the atomic structure that we're made of is actually energy. Matter is packaged energy. It's E equals mc squared. And what we are is held together. This energy, which is like an energy soup, is held together by 4 forces that hold all of the physical structure of this universe together. Gravity, electromagnetism, strong and weak forces. It's all held together. And we are this shimmering energy that could have been, scattering apart at every moment, but it's all held together, and God is doing the holding. So that we literally are being held in being at every moment by God. So to be aware of that and to engage our heart with that, to appreciate that, in a gratefulness beyond gratefulness, to receive our being from God, which we're doing at every moment. This is the goal of this meditation. This is what we want to open our hearts to feeling. So after 5 minutes of quieting our mind, we, with the chime, and I'll say the verse to remind us, Ein od milvado, there is nothing but God. Let's try to appreciate that really literally. Make an inventory, go through your sensations of the body, all of your systems that you can sense and feel, and the hearing and the vision and the touch and all of that, the sense of the heartbeat and your breathing, and appreciate not only are they happening, but we're not doing this. It's effortless on our part. And when we really appreciate that, try to engage your heart with the meaning of that. and see where that meditation takes us. Okay, that's the meditation for now. Okay, so we're about to start. If anyone has any question about this, I'll take a moment for a question. It's clarifying anything about the meditation itself. And you can open your microphone if you need to. Okay, I hope that's clear then. All right, here we go. Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay, the 5 minutes of clearing, and the meditation itself will go for about 12 minutes, and then you'll hear a gong at the end, chime at the end again, and I'll say the verse again, and this will be a signal to quiet down for a moment, and then we'll open our eyes. Okay, here we go. Ata hareta lada'at ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim. Ein od milvado. You have been shown to know that Hashem is God. There is naught else but Him. Let's feel how close God is to us, how completely intimate. Ata hareta lada'at ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim ein od milvado. You have been shown to know that Hashem is God. There is nothing else but Him. And when we're ready, we can open our eyes. If we are able to follow the direction of Rav Kalonimus Kalmish Epstein and open our hearts to realize Hashem's presence in our lives, in every limb of our body, in every ability that we have, in our ability to speak, in our ability to think. Through and through, I mean, we find ourselves floating in the infinite, floating but very securely held and floating in Ein Sof, in the infinite. And every detail of our experience, is, in the sense, a gift, and it's something to perceive with the heart. The heart gives us that sense of context, in this case, infinite context, that each one of us is in the midst of. So it's the beginning. We'll be working on this meditation in various forms and various insights over the next few weeks. But if anyone would like to open up your mic, or raise your hand, and if you have any comments that you'd like to share in terms of what you get from this, what you take away from this, what you can apply from this practice, please, please feel free. And just hang on a second. I'm being asked to give the host to Meir.
Do you know how to do it?
No. I'm looking around. Anne is going to help me make Meir the host again. Where is Meir? Oh, there he is. Yeah. Got it.
He's the host now. He made himself.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Good. All right. Hi, Meir. Okay. So we're opening this up. If anyone has any takeaways that you'd like to share in terms of what, how this.
Aviva has her hand up. Aviva.
Aviva.
Yeah, thank you, Rabbi Sendor, so much. I'm really enjoying the class. I'm all the way in Baltimore.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I felt such an appreciation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and such a hakaras hatov, thankfulness for him to be making everything about myself function and happen. And as you said, if it wasn't for him, none of us would be here. So I just felt such great hakaras hatov, and really felt and still feel that he's in my heart. And
Beautiful. That's it.
Hear that.
That is it. I mean, you said it eloquently, beautifully. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's the awareness that we're looking for. And to work on this awareness, this is ultimate hera'at hada'at. I mean, it's what we call enlightenment, another term, but this is what our Torah tradition is bringing us to. This awareness. It's what it's all about. This is what Torah is about. Thank you, Viva. If anyone else would like to also to share insight. Questions also, I mean, any questions or even any struggles that you have with this, please feel free. David, unmute, yeah.
So, thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed, of course, listening to you speak. But as after, in terms of the quieting, the hashkata, and I'm kind of, sometimes I feel like not too confident in how I should proceed from there. I come to kind of like a quiet place. And actually, in this case scenario, I felt myself kind of wandering, and I wouldn't even realize it. And I'd be like, wait a second, I'm sorry. I'm in a meditation class right now. So yeah, so I was wondering if you had anything else. I mean, and then I'll have a moment of like, of kind of more understanding. Like I'll be there, and then I'll just like disappear, and I'm like lost, and I come back and have to kind of center. So I had a little bit of a hard time with it today, but
yeah, that's very common, David. So don't feel bad about that. And maybe we'll in the next session we'll spend a little bit more time on that instruction. Let me say it this way though, and this is something you can practice during the week, and for all of us. This approach to that the Meir Shemesh is talking about, the Rav Kalmash Shapiro, the Piazetza Rebbe talks about. The state of mind we're looking for here is what we call a comprehensive awareness, a quieting the mind, a stabilizing of our attention, so that we're aware of everything that's happening around us and in us, all sensations, and to do it in a quiet way, by which they mean is, our attention tends to jump around and grab, stimuli, sensations that we are sensing around us. We don't need to do that in order to be aware of what's happening all around us and within us. We can center our attention. That's the term that you use, David. It's a good term. We can just be quiet, open, not move our attention around, be totally passive, and still get all of that information, all the sensations that are happening in us and around us, and do it in a stable way without the attention jumping. And that's the goal that we're looking for, a comprehensive awareness. We call it that, global awareness, so that we're aware of everything all at once that's happening around us and in us, without reaching the attention and jumping it around from thing to thing, and letting everything come to us. And then including when thoughts come, just back off, be aware that the thoughts are happening, but in a very passive way, not following them, not reaching the attention for them. This state of mind gives us the first stage that we're looking for in meditation practice, which is stable attention, stability of attention. Once we get stability of attention, then we can work on expanding attention, okay, and more mindfully, being more vividly aware, more specifically aware of everything that's happening all around us. And then we can, with that stable attention and expanded attention, add our heart, a sense of the meaning of what's happening, and not just the facts of it happening. Okay, and we'll work on that. So the struggle that you have is just really, it's completely normal, and it takes practice. I would suggest, if you can, put 5 to 10 minutes a day into this over the next week. Try to get your attention stable, very passive, taking everything in around you, and then engaging your heart, just as we did now.